The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody, on this Memorial Day, Monday night, thanks for tuning in. I got to start with Thomas Massie, because this guy really is not good at all. And you could say, oh, you're a Trump supporter, Conch. You love Trump, therefore you hate Massie. No, nothing to do with that. This guy's a phony. Massie is. Again, voted against the big, beautiful bill, which means major tax cuts would not happen without that bill passing. Voted against DHS getting funded. Voted against border security. Voted against the Iron Dome in Israel. So that doesn't sound like a guy that really has the best interests of the country in mind. Instead, it was all about fundraising, all about opposing Trump and getting on TV as much as possible on CNN and MS Now or NBC News like he was on Sunday morning. And here is Massie talking about how, well, he only lost by 10 points in a primary in a big red district, Kentucky 4, because, well, you know, the voters were stupid. Which is ironic because the same voters elected him like something like 4 times before that. Cut number 6, go.
Well, they spent at least 20 million, maybe 25 million against me. And what they did is they expanded the pool of voters. And there were a lot of misinformed, uninformed voters.
Yeah, that's why I lost, because a bunch of dumb people began to vote and they didn't realize like what I stand for, which God knows what that is outside of opposing Trump. And, oh, the Epstein files. He really cares now, Thomas Massie does. And he joined with Joe Concha, Democrat, to demand the release of all Epstein files. Go back and look at any time that Thomas Massie did even one interview talking about the Epstein files from 2021 to 2025, or even 2016 to 2025. It does not exist. Suddenly he cares about the victims now. Only because Trump's in office, because he's just looking for things to try to hurt Trump with. So good luck with that CNN show that's probably coming, I'm sure. Meanwhile, also, here's Massie in the same interview talking about how AI was used against him because it fooled the old folks who just don't know better. Cut number 7, go.
They used artificial intelligence to create a video, lifelike video, that showed me checking into a hotel room with AOC and Ilhan Omar and holding hands with them. It was actually very effective on the boomers.
Yeah, the boomers. They're dumb, too. So misinformed and old people voted against me because they were fooled. Otherwise, they would have voted for me. Again, this guy lost by 10 points in a primary to Ed Galrain, a guy, Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, seems to have the best interests of Kentucky at heart. Instead, Massie is doing this, and now he's saying that, oh, maybe I'll run for president. Of course he will, because that gets him back on television, which I guess is this some sort of like crack-like drug where you need attention as much as possible, and that's the way that's going to go. He's like the Eric Swalwell of the Democratic Party, where, yeah, he'll get a lot of TV time and get maybe 1% of the vote. And that's the way that goes. Anyway, Graham Plattner up in Maine is now refusing to apologize for calling a U.S. Purple Heart member, mind you, a guy who took fire during a fight with the Taliban, tried to draw their fire in order to protect his units. Graham Plattner said, I wish that fat idiot would have died there. Literally what he said. And now here's Plattner not apologizing for saying this because I guess he's above any criticism. Cut number 4, go.
I was wondering if you regret the post about the Purple Heart veteran. If you think you need to apologize to him, what you would say to voters who might be upset by it?
Item 4 towards the infantry. Any attempt to say that I disrespect veterans is slanderous and offensive.
Do you think you owe him an apology?
I do. Do you know how many of my friends had Purple Hearts? Do you know how many of my friends got wounded?
I'm sure a lot.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Thank you.
And that's that. Now, here's the thing. Why is only one reporter asking Plattner about this? Why aren't there more reporters demanding answers around disparaging a Purple Heart member who was shot 4 times, drawing fire from the Taliban to protect his unit, and Plattner wished death on this person? Again, if this were a Republican in any way, shape, or form, trust me, he would be taken down by the national media, not just one guy with a microphone like it was there, in a heartbeat. But no. It's great to be a Democrat, it appears. That's certainly for sure. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders was actually at a rally for Plattner last night. Very proud of it. The guy, again, who wished that Israeli soldiers would die. Think about that for a moment. He rooted on Hamas. The guy who said America deserved... I could go down the line as far as what Plattner has done, but overall, in the end, the guy had a Nazi tattoo. All right? He supports communism. He wants to impeach Supreme Court justices, Graham Plattner. And meanwhile, Bernie Sanders, last check, is probably Jewish, right? And boy, he has a big problem speaking out against Plattner because he figures that if Plattner can win in Maine, therefore maybe Democrats could win back the Senate and then therefore hold a bunch of hearings against Donald Trump. But Bernie Sanders, again, is supporting the communists. Again, self-declared Plattner. And Bernie Sanders is also a Democratic socialist. But he does own not 1, not 2, but 3 very, very nice homes in Vermont. How does that work? Well, we'll hear Bernie explain it in cut number 10. Go.
Do I own 3 residences? Yeah, I do. I live here in Burlington, Vermont. We live in a middle-class neighborhood. Nice house. Guess what? I'm a United States Senator, and I own a home in Washington, D.C., as
That's
do
nice.
most senators. You live there year after year. When I first when I was in Congress for 16 years, I rented all the time. But I got elected. Okay, got a 6-year term. You know what? Let's buy a house. So we bought a house. And guess what? Like many thousands of people in the state of Vermont, I have a summer camp. It's a nice one on Lake Champlain. That's it.
Oh, that's it. Last check, I only have 1 house and I have 4 jobs. Most people only own 1 home or they rent. He's like, guess what? It's so condescending. And this guy, again, flies private jets to the fight the oligarchy. Yeah, good for you. It's so hypocritical. And yet, again, he can get away with it because we have a media that does not challenge him in any serious way. Or they'll ask the question, then sit back and let him say what he just said there without really pushing back. Again, it's great to be a Democrat. No question about it. Meanwhile, Tom Steyer, who also is endorsed by Bernie Sanders, is running for governor of California. And he is totally in favor of trans athletes in high school. Again, this is an 80-20 issue. 80 in terms of 80% of people, probably more, support not having men play against women in sports and pummeling them. Steyer, because he's running in California, I guess feels that he has to appeal to the very, very liberal base, a billionaire, by the way, is all for having trans athletes pummel women in high school. And here he is in cut number 9. Go.
You talked about trans people. I'm totally in favor of trans athletes in high school. I think when you understand the vulnerability, the stress, the danger of being a trans kid, and you understand that almost half of them try to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And then you think we're going to punish those kids. We're going to cut them off from team sports. We're going to cut them off from participating in the community. We're going to cut them off from fun. It's like, no, we're not. No, we're not. And, as someone who played sports my whole life and loves sports and love playing sports, there are more important things than whether you start on your high school basketball team. And that is standing up for people who are under threat of death.
Yeah, moron. Here's the thing. It's not fun for the girls playing against a guy in boxing, for example, like we saw during the Olympics, where one Italian boxer, excuse me, was fighting against a guy and had to quit like 45 seconds in because that person was being pummeled that much, and that person was undefeated to that point. Think about that for a moment and said, I've never been hit like that before. It's very unfair when you have a chemical and biological advantage. Ask Tom Steyer, if we can, if somebody would interview him in any serious way. Do you believe that steroids should be allowed in professional or even amateur sports? And he would say, no, of course not. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's a chemical and biological advantage, one side versus the other. So whether it's chromosomes or whether it's steroids, it's the same thing. So you can't allow this stuff. But this guy, given his money right now, may very well be running against Steve Hilton. It looks like it'll be a Democrat versus a Republican in California. And unfortunately, the Republicans have left California, like they've left New York, like they've left Illinois, like they've left Minnesota. So therefore, probably the Democrat will win. I hate to say that, but that's just the way it works out. I think people vote against other parties more than they vote for them. That I do know. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night, the Joe Concha Show, back with so much more in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome back, everybody. So it's Memorial Day night. Hopefully everybody out there respected and paid tribute to all those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for this country on this Memorial Day. I went to a parade, and just to see all those veterans there, just to have a hot dog and, in my case, a Diet Coke, and just to see everybody just so happy that they're Americans was such a great thing to witness. I do it every year. We usually march. My baseball team that I coach, actually, everybody had plans, apparently. So it was going to be my son and me. That was it. I got a team of like 13 kids, and only one can make it. I get it completely. I mean, it's fine. So we watched instead of marched, but it was still great to see. Meanwhile, you got to hear this. I am so sick and tired of hearing everybody talk about how Jackson Dart was a big, big problem in terms of going to that Bruce Blakeman rally last week in Suffern, New York, introduced the president. All right, great. He's part of the 78 million people that voted for President Trump. And oh, by the way, Jackson Dart was drafted out of Ole Miss. Okay. Mississippi, pretty southern state. Probably if you're 21, 22 years old, you're a guy. Good chance you're a Republican. So what was the big deal in terms of him introducing Trump? And then Abdul Carter, who's his teammate, goes on social media. Again, dude, pick up a phone. Call your quarterback and say, hey, what's going on? If you disagree with him, don't put that out in public. Abdul Carter, the same guy who worships Lawrence Taylor. I know LT. LT is a friend. Number 56 out of North Carolina. And came into the NFL. And to this day, you can make the argument that he is the most dominant defensive player of all time. Easily. Bar none. And Lawrence was at Donald Trump's rally in Wildwood 2024. I was seated next to him and Otis Anderson. And then LT actually spoke on behalf of the president. And Abdul Carter, who hates Jackson Dart for supporting President Trump, begged LT, begged him can I wear your number, please? In honor of you. And LT said, no, of course not. Because who is this kid? How dare you? I mean, that's pretty presumptuous, right? You're going to ask the best defensive player of all time, the guy who won 2 Super Bowls. You're a rookie and you want to wear his number? I get the sentiment, I guess, but no, don't even ask that question. Abdul Carter begged Lawrence Taylor for his number, even though LT literally spoke at a Trump rally. And then Jackson Dart does the same thing. And then Dart suddenly is the bad guy. I just found that remarkable. Anyway, here's Craig Carton jumping in here, or Cartoon. This guy, I love the fact that, he got arrested, served some time. FAN just hires him back. And Carton, by the way, used to bash Mike Francesa before Francesa left the station that Francesa and Mad Dog built. And Carton would just completely goof on him over and over again, as if he was something. Then Carton goes away, and then FAN just hires the guy back. Like, all's forgiven. It's fine. All right, well, here's Carton, the moral authority, I guess, on WFAN, saying that Jackson Dart should not have done this in any way, shape, or form in terms of supporting President Trump. Cut number 1, go.
Jackson Dart is going to have to learn how to say no at some point, because he is living the life of a guy that has already accomplished a lot in the NFL, whether that's MVPs, whether that's Super Bowls, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm telling you, that is great. While it's great, but if you come out of the gate 1-3 and you've got 7 picks and 2 touchdowns, it's going to backfire on you, and the fans will turn on you very quickly. So again, great opportunity. I think you say yes to it because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to introduce a president at an event like that. So I'm not knocking the kid for doing it.
Yeah, you are.
But he is acting like he has already accomplished something in the NFL, and we all know this. The NFL will humble you in a New York City second if you're not ready for it. And I'm just a little concerned that Jackson Dart is now living the life of a superstar, and he hasn't quite earned it just yet.
Oh, okay. Well, where was Craig Carton, just out of curiosity, when Steve Kerr said this in cut number 14? Because, again, Steve Kerr spoke at the 2024 Democratic National Convention. You can say, well, Steve Kerr accomplished a lot. Yeah, he was on Michael Jordan's team. Great. Nice. Hit a 3 once. Good for you. So did John Paxton against Phoenix. All right. You're wide open when you play with Michael Jordan because he gets triple teamed. Anyway, here's Kerr in cut number 14. Go.
In the words of the great Steph Curry, we can tell Donald Trump, night, night.
That's okay. But Jackson Dart introducing President Trump, that's a big, big no-no. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night, back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, this will be our fun segment. So I go through a lot of social media, and then I send it off to our wonderful producers, whether it be Phil, whether it be Elias, whether it be Kevin, whether it be... I got a whole army here, trust me. And they find some good stuff themselves. So here, I just want to go through like a bunch of stuff, because it's Memorial Day night, and I get there's a lot of very important things going on here. But first, I mean, I love Sean Farish. I've interviewed him a couple of times. This guy lived on Long Island and was just so sick of living in New York with the high taxes, education no good. Moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and this guy used to work in sales, and he would do a Trump imitation when speaking to clients, just as a goof. And it was so good that now he is nationally known because the president himself, and Donald Trump, has seen his social media impersonations and is actually, retweeted out, as has Don Jr., Eric, the whole crew. Anyway, here is Trump celebrating the end of Thomas Massey's political career, and this is just perfection. Cut number 15, go.
This is your favorite president, and today is a tremendous day for our country. Congressman Thomas Massey and his undercooked linguine haircut. You look at his hair.
Well,
it looks like undercooked linguine, and nobody knows hair quite like I do. I have the greatest hair. They say to me, sir,
it's good hair.
Your hair is like golden waves of grain, and that's the greatest hairdo in the history of the world. But Thomas Massey and his stupid haircut, undercooked linguine, ramen noodles, is hitting the road. You know, he lost. And he lost by a lot. You think about it, he lost by a landslide.
A lot.
I wouldn't know what that feels like. I've never lost an election. A lot of people are saying to me, sir, what's it feel like to lose? I wouldn't know what it feels like to lose, but he knows what it feels like. I want to say thank you to Kentucky's 4th Congressional District, and I want to say thank you to the low IQ influencers who have no influence at all. They're a bunch of fakes and phonies and frauds, and now they're a bunch of losers.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of stupid things with Massey, who happens to be a stupid person. And they caused him to lose. You think about it, they did a lot of damage to his campaign. And let this be a lesson to anybody else. If you get in bed with those people, you're going to have a very hard time. I can tell you that. But congratulations to Kentucky. Congratulations to the United States of America. They call him Masshole.
Oh.
They call him Masshole. And it's not a nice name, but he's not a nice person. So congratulations to Kentucky. Congratulations to America. And congratulations to all the hardworking MAGA patriots who are working to make America great again. God bless you, and thank you for your attention to this matter.
I mean, find me a better imitation of any president. I mean, I loved Dana Carvey as George H.W. Bush and Darrell Hammond as Bill Clinton. Will Ferrell as George W. Bush, pretty good, but, I mean, it's not on this level. It just isn't. Meanwhile, as we continue to have more fun, let's go to Lionel Richie, shall we? So he was on David Letterman's show. Again, this is when comedy was comedy, and it wasn't the Colbert version of comedy, which is just angry screeds and talking about politics and taking down Republicans. Here is Lionel Richie. This is on Letterman's top 10 list in terms of lyrics that changed forever or something like that. Anyway, you're going to love it. Cut number 13, go.
Number 7, here we go.
I couldn't help noticing your house was a dump. The whole place is in disorder.
Well done.
Magazines and piles of things cover everything up. Never knew you were a hoarder.
Order.
Turns out it's eBay.
It's eBay. Yeah.
This eBay crap is habit for me.
It's true. I can speak to this. See, that's comedy again. But if we go back all the way to, I don't know, last week when Colbert had a show, here is Kamala Harris with Stephen Colbert talking about Russiagate, and boy, she's got the goods. Again, this is not comedy. Cut number 19, go.
Was their investigation that concluded in their official report, the majority report, the Republican report, saying no collusion?
Right.
Where are you guys?
Our investigation is still open, and we will go wherever the facts take us.
Okay, so are there things you know? Hold on. Are there things that you know that you can't tell us?
Yes.
That you'd like to tell us?
Absolutely. All of the above is true.
Are they good?
That's not comedy. Just ain't. It's, can we take down Trump? And, oh yeah, we got the goods on Russia. How'd that work out, Kamala, who probably will be the Democratic nominee? Again, I play this out over and over again. It's going to be Kamala versus Gavin Newsom versus AOC. Buttigieg won't be a factor because black voters do not like him. So I see it coming down to those three if AOC runs, and I'm not sure she will because she doesn't have the guts to leave her bubble. In other words, if she's ever challenged on, hey, you said the world would end by 2031 because of climate change, she doesn't know how to answer that question. Hey, You made sure that Amazon would not come to New York, despite the fact that it would have created hundreds of thousands of jobs, well-paying jobs, would have been great for your district, which is where they wanted to move, and she has no answer for that either. She flies private to the fight the oligarchy tours like we talked about with Bernie Sanders. So, again, hypocrite, phony, not likable. I don't see her running. So let's say it's going to come down to Gavin Newsom, California, versus Kamala Harris, California, which should do really well in swing states. I think in the end, Kamala wins because she could play the victim better than Gavin can. I don't know if he has. All he does during every interview is talk about Trump and how horrible Trump is and Vance is or Rubio or whoever. If he has to criticize a fellow Democrat, a woman of color, I think he's going to fold. And I think in the end, Kamala barely gets the nomination, which, again, if you're J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, or both, if they're on the same ticket, the best news ever could happen in that situation. But where am I going with this? Not quite sure. I had a point. You ever talk so long that you suddenly don't have a point? Well, that's happening right now. I think the point is that Kamala Harris, I don't think, will even do better than she did in 2024, because the problem is that she then therefore has to sell herself to the American people, not for 107 days like she ran last time and spent nearly $2 billion and lost every swing state. If she's exposed for 2 years, trust me, this is not a person that will win over hearts and minds of independents, especially in states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina. She may do worse. She may lose some blue states, but that's where the Democratic Party is at this point. Here's where I'm going with this. Senator Chris Murphy, let's do a little flashback, shall we? This is at the 2024 Democratic National Convention where Kamala was being coordinated because, again, she did not win one vote from the Democratic voters because she was installed. Here's Murphy on the border, and this is all you need to know about how horrible this campaign was. Cut number 16, go.
For 20 years, Kamala Harris has been tough as nails when it comes to securing our border.
Let in 20 million people illegally. And he actually said that with a straight face. Meanwhile, this autopsy has come out about the 2024 election from the Democratic Party. And it doesn't mention the fact that Kamala Harris was a profoundly horrible candidate. It doesn't mention the fact there was no primary. It doesn't mention the fact that Joe Biden's brain turned applesauce and he never should have ran in the first place. So here is Scott Jennings of CNN basically breaking down this autopsy, which again, it comes down to exactly what Scott's about to say in cut number 17, go.
It's causing great pain to Democratic office holders. Did they really need 192 pages to tell us that Joe Biden sucked as president and Kamala Harris would have sucked even more? I mean, that's the autopsy. He ruined the country, and she was crazy. There's your autopsy, ladies and gentlemen, and that is the relief factor pain of the week.
Wow. Well done, Scott Jennings. Before we go to break, Jerry Seinfeld. Now, I'm left-handed, kind of. In other words, I write left-handed. I golf left-handed, but I shoot righty when I play basketball. I throw righty when I play baseball or throw a football. So I'm what you would call ambidextrous. However, as a left-handed person, kind of, I can appreciate this joke, Jerry Seinfeld on Johnny Carson. Again, this was what late night was when it was funny on cut number 3. Go.
Because the word left itself is always associated with negative things. Have you ever noticed that? Leftovers, they're terrible. 2 left feet, left-handed compliment. On television, you ever see a crook named Righty?
Boy, always lefty.
You never see that. Everything right, they make a positive thing. Right on, the Bill of Rights. You go to a party, there's nobody there. Where'd everybody go? They left.
Oh, that's great. That's tremendous. And that's Jerry Seinfeld. Again, the finale of Seinfeld was, 28 years ago this month. 77 million people tuned in. That's all you need to know about the genius of the comedy of Jerry Seinfeld. Larry David, great writer on that show as well. And then obviously George, Elaine, Cosmo, Newman, go down the line. The best show ever. It will never be replicated or even closely competitive in terms of another comedy show that great. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This also is a comedy show to a certain extent, and we wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So, Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, who I've heard some rumblings that he may run for president as a Democrat. And if you're ever going to accept a Democrat as a president, I think Jamie Dimon fits the bill because he's a common sense guy. Again, I don't see DNR. I see, are you common sense or chaos? Here he is in cut number 5, talking about how New York City, again, I think I shared this stat. JP Morgan in New York, the head count just 15 years ago was 10,000 people higher than it is now. Meanwhile, the head count of JP Morgan in Texas has increased by 20,000. So in other words, to break that down in a very basic term, people are leaving New York that work for JP Morgan, and they're going to places like Texas. Because why? Your income tax isn't taxed on a state level. It's very simple. And if you could work anywhere, you work at JP Morgan, you don't have to be on Wall Street. You don't have to be on the floor. You're not Bud Fox in Wall Street or Gordon Gekko. You could work anywhere and earn a lot of money, but not have it taxed the way it is here in New York, the way Zohran Mamdani is threatening to do. And oh, by the way, if he doesn't get his way, he's going to raise property taxes, which are already sky high. So why would you work here? Why wouldn't you, if you work for JP Morgan, get the hell out, work in Texas, work in Florida, work in Tennessee? Here's Jamie Dimon saying this better than I can. Cut number 5, go.
That's what people seem to want. They think that somehow being anti-business is going to help a city. It's not. So we all want to pay fair taxes. That's not the point, but at one point people vote with their feet. But when they say fair share, what do they mean? I mean, they should give a number and say that's a fair share. So we'll see.
So what do you make of the beef Mamdani has with Ken Griffin? I mean, there's been a lot of pushback as well from...
my view is, I didn't speak to him about that. I think he realized he made a mistake in naming Ken, vilifying a name and a person. And my view, and I'm talking about him now, I have seen mayors who make statements and they make it worse and worse and worse. You know, and they don't know, they can't get into details of why is affordable housing not there anymore? Why does this not work? You know, and so hopefully he'll learn. I want him to do a good job. I'm not against him.
He won't learn. He doesn't want to learn. This is all about being a victim. That's Zohran Mamdani. Like, all right, I'm here to make things more affordable, and I'm going to freeze rents. The guy has never run a bath, let alone the most complex major city in the world, financial capital of the world. And he's doing it. It's all about moral preening. Like the rich are bad and the poor are good, and I'm here to save the poor from the rich. As if the rich are the ones that are victimizing the poor, when the billionaires, guys like, I don't know if Jamie Dimon's a billionaire, but he's certainly doing very well for himself. But Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, Ken Griffin, they create jobs. They create good lives for people, and they make the world better, especially with Bezos, which Amazon, again, imagine a world without Amazon right now. I couldn't. I order everything through that thing. Oh, 2-3 hours, I could get something. I don't have to leave my house when I work 4 jobs. Yeah, I'll take that. Time is money. Or even, next day delivery. All right, I'll suffer. It's fine. Anyway, here is Trump, by the way, saying the same thing in essence. New York, his hometown, cannot be saved if it's losing its tax base. Think about this. Cut number 20, go.
New York can never be the same if it's losing its tax base, and the people that pay 85% of the taxes are leaving. And we're taking in illegal immigrants. So they're wonderful people and all, but they're not paying any tax. They're taking your money. Ay, ay, ay.
Ay, ay, ay. And that is the juxtaposition right now for Democrats. In other words, they will use your taxpayer money to take care of illegals. hotels, food, credit cards, phones, but not take care of you. Meanwhile, taxing you higher to take care of those people and driving out the people that actually employ you, that actually do things to make the economy better within a state like New York. Again, I'll share this stat. New York's federal FY 26-27 budget is $260 billion. Florida, which has a higher population, which is run much better, lower crime, better education, better economy, is half of that. Why is that? Oh, right. Collect all the money you want and expand government all you want. Take all the tax revenue you want. It does not make the world better if you don't spend it correctly. Anyway, before we go, I think this is awesome, actually. James Tallarico is running in a place called Texas. This guy is crazy. He's not normal. He says that there are not one, not two, but 6 genders that exist in this world. Presents himself as a moderate, but he's anything but. This ad that has come out against him, and again, as far as political ads, whether we're talking about Spencer Pratt, whether we're talking about, in this case, this ad against James Tallarico, are infinitely better than the ones we have been suffering through for the last 50, 60 years of the television era. But this one really is devastating. I don't think he wins in Texas because, again, it's a state that Donald Trump won by 13 points. You tell me how this schmuck is going to win there when it's really Trump country. Anyway, cut number 23, go.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
God is non-binary. There are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. Yeah. No need to sit and cry over, your whiteness or your masculinity. You're going to call me a radical leftist.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
Low T Tallarico, too weak for Texas. Lone Star Liberty PAC is responsible for the content of this ad.
Yes. So the guy's a vegan, believes in multiple genders, believes that our southern border should be a front porch. How does this person win in Texas? Now, Trump endorsed Ken Paxton in that race, and Paxton's going to beat John Cornyn quite easily as a result. It's not even a question of this. He probably will win by 10, 15 points. So Paxton versus Tallarico, when you have Trump's backing in a red state, I just don't see how this guy can win. He's a worse version of Beto O'Rourke, which that's not good. It's like being a worse version of Ryan Leaf. Sorry to go full sports on you there, but he's the guy who went second behind Peyton Manning in the draft and ended up being like a complete catastrophe. That's basically what we're looking at this point. Anyway, all right, this has been fun. Thanks so much, everybody. Happy Memorial Day. Remember to honor those who sacrificed and died for this country. We're back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC and on stations around the country. Until then, I got 2 words for you. Bye-bye.